Hey everyone, and welcome back to Master Sight. Today we have our game one of Kings of Winter, and I'll be going over the secret lists that we would be playing. So for those that didn't catch the really quick intro video that I did just before this, I did not know what list I would be playing. Jeff Westerhold, who runs the event, offered up any of his armies, which he has several of for people to use. And so both Travis, Tim, and I decided to do a random army challenge. So we let Jeff write the list, submit it for us, and then day of the event, he gave us our army and our list, and we played with it for the tournament. So uh, it was a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and dive into the list, and then we'll get into the game here. So we were assigned Salamanders, which I'm pretty excited about. I've dabbled with Salamanders a little bit on UB, but never played them over the table. So I was very much looking forward to this. And Jeff was also kind enough to give a very competent list. I think he could have been uh, not necessarily mean, but made it a lot more challenging by giving Travis and I armies and units that maybe we normally wouldn't have chosen ourselves. But I got to give it to Jeff. He definitely was a gentleman with this, and I think he made a very fine list. So let's go ahead and dive into it. So we have a Regiment of Ancients with the Effigy of Fire upgrade and Healing Brew, a Horde of Ceremonial Guard, Effigy of Fire, and they had the Dwarven Ale. Uh, Minor change, but I probably would have given them the Chalice of Wrath for Fury instead of Headstrong. But like I said, very minor there. Uh, Fire Elemental Horde, two hordes of Scorchwings, a horde of Rhinosaur Cav with Effigy of Fire and J Boots, two Ember Sprite regiments, a Greater Fire Elemental, an Ancient Phoenix, a Mage Priest with the Periscope, Fireball 10, and Surge 8, Skylord with Brutal, and Rakaz. Bringing us out to 13 units, 27 unit strength. So uh, fairly elite army for 2,400 points, but everything has a place and it all works pretty well together. There's just a really good amount of shooting throughout the list and almost sneaky amount. People think maybe just the Scorchwings, but that Greater Fire Elemental with his Fireball 8, Phoenix, the Mage Priest with Fireball 10, and he gets Elite when he's next to some of these Fire Elementals and Ember Sprites. And then a big one is Rakaz coming in with his 12 Breath attacks. Um, and a lot of those guys, they just have flat vicious in there. So it really comes with quite a bit of range threat to it, as well as a decent amount of punch in melee. So like I said, very excited. Very well rounded list. It's something I feel like I can work with. Lots of different tools, and it's not skewed too heavily in one direction or another. So uh, yeah. So let's got some pictures here of the army. So Rakaz in the back with the Ancient Phoenix. We have our Skylord. So I love the Skylords. Very glad that I had one of those in there. Two of the Scorchwings, the Rhino Cav, Fire Elementals, and the Greater Fire Ellie. The two Ember Sprites, Mage Priests here, our Horde of Ceremonial Guard, Regiment of Ancients, and then the special monster or choice you get for the event. Jeff assigned me with the Frost Monster. So that's what this little giant's going to be. Which, as I said in the preview, I think is my favorite option just because you kind of get some randomness out of it with rolling for a random aura at the beginning of the game. Um, so it's just it changes the role of what it's doing every game. I feel like depending on that aura. And with a well-balanced army like this, I think that's perfect. Sometimes you need a little bit more or something, and he can fill that gap there. So, and really good-looking army from Jeff's end as well. So he was kind enough to give both Travis and I an army that would get the top painting points according to the rubrics. So that always helps. So let's go to our first round opponent. It is Seth. So Seth Kobiskie, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. Not sure exactly, but he's one of the Wichita guys. So Seth's been, I think he had moved for a little while and then moved back. He's been kind of out of playing Kings of War for past year and a half probably. But Seth and I, we go way back. We were trying to remember the last time we played each other, and it's been several years. But he and I, when we first met, we were both playing elves, so we were when we were elf match mirror match when we were playing against each other early in Kings of War. But uh, really fun guy, really great guy to hang out with. I'm really glad that we're able to get a game in here. So let's go ahead and take a look at Seth's list. He's also switched up from elves since then, but he's going with a Northern Alliance list. So he has two of the Ice Naiads with spears. Really solid unit there. Three of the Pack Hunters, which again are excellent for their price point. He kept them with bows, which I think is a good choice. He has a horde of the Frostclaw Riders with the Ice Bombs and J Boots. Not a huge fan of these guys personally, but they're just really expensive for a defense 4 unit. Uh, Snow Fox regiments, two of those. He does have two Frost Giants, one with Rampage and one with Slayer. He has a Thane on Frostfang, Snow Fox, and Blade of Slashing. He has a Frostclaw Champ. He has a Snow Troll Prime, and he has the Formation, which gives him two troops of half elf berserkers and a regiment of the Frostclaw Riders, and that gives him rally one for the half elves there. And I forget what else it gives him. Maybe it's the crushing one built into the half elf berserkers. Um, I'm not quite sure what other buffs, but in general, the formation's pretty solid all around. I think the Frostclaw regiment has a bump in nerve from its normal regiment value. So he comes out to 16 drops and 28 unit strength. So very solid list. I think my only question for him was why didn't you take Harim? When you're taking two Frost Giants, you drop one of the Frost Giants and add in Harim. Uh, shave some of the points that you need off elsewhere because Harim is just big, bad, and nasty. So you should always take him when you're taking a giant anyway. But like I said, a very, very strong list from Seth here. So here is our table. And the first game we were playing uh, Raze. So you'll see the tokens here across the board. So the three tokens I put out on his side over here. He has one token here, here, and here, and then the center one. Terrain wise, we got two impassable on his side of the board. I was able to choose sides, and I did not want the impassables messing up my deployment, so I put Seth on that side. Two forests, fairly centralized, one left and right. Two hills across the middle. Obstacle, obstacle, and then flat, difficult, and flat, difficult. So pretty balanced board outside of the impassables being in one deployment versus the flat difficulties being in the other. So And deployment wise, and Seth has the Frost Drakon Rider, and our giant rolled up Cloak of Death this time. So um, I don't mind that. Seth does not have any heal or wound recovery outside of a little regen on his spears, naiads. So I think Cloak of Death is going to be pretty useful. We already have a Cloak of Death with the Ancient Phoenix, but two's never bad. So out on the left, he put his Frostclaw Champ, the regiment of Frostclaws, and a regiment of Snow Foxes. So this regiment was the formation one, but the way Seth plays the formation, he doesn't really need or want the rally nearby for just the half elves, so he kept these guys out on their own. He has his Slayer Giant here with one of his spear Naiad units. He then has 1, 2, and 3 of his Pack Hunters with his Frost Troll in the middle there. Both of his half elves troops are behind those. The horde of Frostclaw riders, the other spear phalanx with the what's it called, the Thane on Frostfang behind. This is his Rampage Giant. Red is Rampage, as he told me. And another troop of the dogs, wolves, foxes, with his Frost Drakon out this way. So, and then my deployment here, I have out on the edge my Scorchwing with character, Skylord, with the Horde Scorchwings. I have Rhino Cav, mainly looking to protect from him pushing through this forest. So, try to mitigate the fact that they're slower than most everything out here by just play hide and seek behind the forest is all. I then have ancients. Behind them are Ember Sprites, which are going to be scouting through. I have my Mage Priest with the Greater Fire, Phoenix, Ceremonial Guard, other Ember Sprites, Rakaz, the Fire Ellies. I put my Frost Monster out here, and I put my other horde of Scorchwings out here. So, ideally, we're just looking to pick on these outer flanks so where he has his speed. Want to pick up the tokens, obviously, but then want to control the center as best we can. Even though he has good amount of shooting with 3 Pack Hunters and the Horde of Frostclaws, and even the Giants with their Icy Breaths, I have quite a bit more shooting, and my shooting is a little harder for him to pick up. So I should be able to pick up these regiments, even though they're stealthy. I should be able to pick them up rather easily. And if he ever puts these frost claws in a compromising position, I'll be able to pick those up pretty easily with shooting. So um, yeah, so that's kind of what I'm looking at. I'm not really afraid of going over and picking up these tokens. I feel like I have a very strong center in a Horde of Ceremonial Guard and a Regiment of Ancients, and I don't think he'll be able to shoot it off. The Phoenix supporting that center line will mean that I'll be able to heal a decent amount of stuff. So I just think that I have a lot of tools, and I plan on probably pushing forward quite aggressively and getting a lot of shooting off and going from there. So sorry about that. So this is after Scout. Ran through the units as fast as we could here with both those. Yeah, we're going into turn 1. which for some reason pictures are all wonky, which I get first turn. So we go forward. We're setting up the ability to shoot out here with these Scorch Wings. So block off charges from completing on this side of the Frost Monster. And then he isn't able to get both a regiment. You'll see here the regiment base and the character into the horde. He can only get one or the other into my horde because of the positioning. The regiment has to go towards the inside. Now you can double charge the giant, which I'm okay with. That guy has ensnare. I didn't even put inspiring out there, honestly. Probably should have, but I was not expecting him to charge with a pretty low number of attacks between just the Frostclaw Champ and a regiment of these guys. And he'd be hindered with the regiment coming in as well. So the regiment's hitting on fives and only has Thunder 1. So, yeah, I knew that was probably unlikely he would do that. This allowed me to push forward quickly, and I shot off the chaff unit this turn. So I shot at the snow foxes, and as you can see, they are no longer in the picture, so was able to pick them up here. I move forward in the center, like I said, pretty aggressively here. I did angle the fire LEs to hit in the flank for whatever would have potentially charged the frost, or not the frost. I don't have frost clouds. I have scorch wings. Whatever charges the scorch wings out there. Rakaz ran forward, so he's not shooting, but I did shoot a little bit with the regiment of Ember Sprites and set up accordingly over here. And then also set up to shoot out on the right flank, which is where we have our Skylord, who was shooting at the Snow Foxes out here, along with the horde of Scorchwings. Now the horde, I didn't move them up to get any shots off this turn. I'm just setting them up to get counter charges. So I'm trying to shoot the snow foxes with the Skylord, and I was in range then for his Drakon to charge my Skylord. So I want to threaten a counter charge into the flank. The Drakon, it has Slayer D3, so it can get up to 8 attacks against the Skylord, but it's still not likely to kill him. So that was kind of my bait, and we moved up to do what we said with the Rhino Cav. So Rhino Cav are staying out of line of sight because of the forest from the Frostclaw riders that he has. But we're threatening to charge anything that comes into the forest with them. And of course, they have the J boots, so they're the big hammer. They should be able to break anything that comes in there. Maybe not a giant, but yeah. So, after the first turn, we were able to only get the unit on the left, and I don't know if we did any damage. If we did, it was just a couple little wounds here or there, maybe a wound or two to the spears, naiads, because from those guys, the Ember Sprites, just because that was the only shots we had. But yeah, so Seth moved up a little bit here. Just trying to reposition, wanted to stay out of charge ranges with certain things. So he backed up so he couldn't get charged with the regiment here. But I don't think I had it in that picture. Let me see here. It's kind of tough to see. He actually put his Frostclaw Champ way out here on the left. Something that I didn't even really consider, but I really should have. So he just ran forward with the Frostclaw Champ, turned in after his 20 inches, and now he's looking down the flank of my line. But Not the end of the world. We have the ability for Surge out here, so he can't get too close or too spicy with that. So we'll see how I deal with that on the next turn here. But and then he just kind of position. He wants his spears to obviously take the hit and then come in and counter with stuff. Uh, I've done that song and dance plenty of times, so I'm not going to fall for that trick. Um, and then he's just, shooting and positioning with everything else here. So pretty basic stuff. He's touching the obstacle so he can shoot through that without any penalties. And then he is afraid of coming into the forest here, which I just think that the Naiads weren't able to actually go into the forest because they don't have Pathfinder, so he could only move up so far. But yeah, we definitely don't want to charge the Naiads. Phalanx and Ensnare with these guys into them. It's not going to be that pretty. But that's all right. We outrange them, so we can still hold back his other stuff. And he wasn't in range to charge, so he just kind of moved forward with these guys. And then he has Scorched Earth on the Frost Drakon, which also applies Frozen. So I was a little curious with the position. I think he could have positioned to where he's out of 18-inch range after applying Frozen and Hindered to this guy. But he left him in 18. Maybe it was just on purpose. He wanted me to charge him, whatnot. But I'm kind of looking at this as if I go after him, I got to do a wound. But if I do, then these guys hitting over here, they're just going to be free because nothing else is actually able to see them from his positioning. So. But his shooting, he took off the Ember Sprites, which we kind of expected. He had 2 full regiments there shooting at him. And he took off the other Ember Sprites, which not uncommon, but we got him into position kind of where we wanted him then, at least some of the units. So this unit's on the hill, so we're going to shoot at him without any cover pretty easily and so on. So yeah, this is our board going into turn 2. And there are some tokens that, one at least that's completely undefended. So we kind of want to get that. So this is our positioning after our turn. So you'll see on the left, I moved up quite aggressively here. And again, outside of inspiring range, but my thought is I can burn this token this turn. He can't see me with this guy. And then only 9 attacks. As long as we don't get wavered, we should win this grind back at him because we have a lot more coming back at him. So, and a lot better, higher nerve. So I was okay with this. I also put the giant in a position so that he can kind of threaten coming over here. I believe giant move forward 6 and then pivot. I think the giant might actually be looking this way if I remember right. I forget because I'm afraid of him jumping over, or maybe I protected that with this. I forget. We'll look. Anyway, my giant's over there. We moved into the forest so that way we can just see stuff, anything that's coming over here. But we're staying out of range of the giant since this is the Slayer giant. Backed up with Rakaz so that he can fireball this or breath weapon this unit, but the giant can't charge him. So that is our plan over here. Sorry for the bad blurry picture, but we are up here just positioning so that we can shoot at this regiment here. Again, I'm kind of fine with my position since I have the token on the left under control and guaranteed to burn this turn. I am putting the pressure on him. I'm also expecting, I left the flank over here open for his guy. he doesn't have any other support to charge the front. I doubt he's going to take flanks, and I expect him that he wants to burn this token. So this guy's probably going to be sticking right around here for a whole turn. Um, Out on the right, I did the move that we were kind of looking at on his turn. So he did Scorch Earth my guy, so I'm hindered. So hitting on fours, no Thunderous, so wounding on fives with Vicious. So with four attacks, if we get one, we pin him down, and then we can come in with the Horde after that. And he really has to turn stuff around if he actually wants to prevent that from happening and protect it. So um, and I can do the order to where I do the, do this. And if I wanted to, I guess I can also turn the horde in towards the center lines here and threaten flanks as long as this guy does a wound. So we got options here. And yeah, I feel like doing this there's token way out here he has to get eventually, and if it's not getting picked up by any of his fast units, maybe a giant has to come over there or something, or maybe he takes the horde of the Frostclaw riders out there to burn the token. So just pushing the flanks where I feel like I'm at an advantage just because he's not supporting them. Shooting went well for us. Rakaz did a decent amount of damage, and yeah, you look over here, and Seth didn't put anybody for inspiring out here, so I rolled a good enough nerve. They had a couple wounds left over from last turn still, and I was able to pick them up, so that's what we did. We killed them. And then it looks like we did 4 damage so far over here. Uh, Out on the right, we did not wound the Drakon character, so our reform had to take us to where that Drakon was in the front because he can see over me. So not not exactly what we were hoping for, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world here. He has to choose between locking down this guy or the Horde. He'll probably choose the Horde, but I get something that gets to go free still. So this is the position. I believe after Seth moved for his turn. So on the left, he again knew we kind of knew this. He's staying back far because I can move over and surge into him potentially. But that's a pretty decent length of a surge. Again, I'm not really worried about this guy hitting a flank of these 3 things out here unless there's a good amount hitting the front with it. So, um, yeah, and sorry, this giant was facing in towards this way. It helps prevent his giant's movements. So, he does charge the horde out here as we kind of expected. He moves forward a little bit with the rest of the stuff in the middle positioning. I believe I did get a waiver here because I had shattering applied. So he just backs them up a little bit, which brings them off the hill at this point. He moves the spears into the forest. He positions the rampage giant in such a way that he can charge out here after these guys get pinned down. And his Lord on Frostfang has turned to look over this way so that my Skylord can't just sit behind and cause issues. So woo. Skip forward a little bit. So yeah, that was his turn. Nothing died, if I remember correctly. Yeah, nothing died. He shot at Rakaz with most things, and I don't think these guys did anything, or if they did, it was like 1 wound, and the Radiance Life took it back. So, no waivers out on either side with the hordes either, so we were good. So this is after my positioning, for my turn 3. So I countercharge out here. The giant turned and moved. His cloak of death hit here. The reason why I did this is because he positioned to where he could see the rear, and I did not want him charging the rear. So my giant's tall enough that he's blocking the line of sight. I know he's going to fly away, uh, but everything else moved up to where it's behind the force, so he actually has no other charges. So I know he's not going to charge the giant. I know my giant won't be able to charge him next turn. So got the Cloak of Death, blocked off the unit. In his positioning, he was keeping his Frost Giant, out of charge range of Rakaz and my baby giant here, but he did put him in range of the fire elementals, which isn't the end of the world. He still doesn't have inspiring out here, though. If I do get a lucky, nerve roll after a decent amount of wounds, I potentially could pick him up. But main reason why I did this is he can't get a flank here, and these berserkers back here, it's a front charge. So, yeah, and then it allowed me to get out of the forest so that there's no potential threat and charge from this thing. The giant outranged me, unfortunately, out here, so I have to take this when I get the opportunity just to get some use out of these units. Yeah, and otherwise we're just creating a little bit of line. Oh, the other big thing was this unit is not in 3 inches, so taking this charge means I burn the token, guaranteed. So definitely doing that. Out over here, I moved the Skylord, 80 moved, or 90-degree pivot moved, 90-degree pivot moved up to about here. So he's facing the rear of the Drakon character, which I expect probably won't be in that position next turn, but this gives me the ability to shoot into the flank of this unit, which is not majority in the force. So I get some clear shots into these guys at least. And then I'm protected, also threatening some stuff. So I feel like it's a better position just because his positioning with the Thane made it almost impossible to go around this way. I wouldn't have been able to look towards any of his units anyway, so I really want this guy to contribute, and it forces him to keep a unit around this token while he's alive. Also, think twice about going for the other ones. So, anyway, yeah. So shooting, I shoot off that regiment that I did damage to, and then I put a little bit more wounds here, and it looks like we just have one wound on these guys over here. So, the other big thing was I backed up the rhinosaurs so that way they couldn't get charged by the spears. I'll let the spears charge anything else they want, basically. And my fire elemental's sitting slightly behind these two units so that his Frostclaw riders can't hit. So I'm allowing him to charge the Ceremonial Guard Horde or the Ancient Regiment, both of which are not things he wants to charge. So, yeah. We did not get a waiver out on the left, which was unfortunate. So, uh, and we didn't break the giant, but we weren't expecting to. So, this is Seth's movement here on his turn 3. So on the left, he countercharges with the giant, brings in the half elves. It's gonna hurt, like we said, but it's okay. The one thing I wish I did was position Rakaz a little bit better to where he could see the giant, so I have a choice. But after the double charge, the giant shifts over, and that was just a mistake on my end. I definitely should leave myself the options at the very least. So, and then I believe I wavered this unit with 4 wounds again. So, getting pretty lucky with those waivers on these guys. We've already cut down his shooting in half effectively by taking out 1 unit and wavering this one. So pretty satisfied with that outcome so far. Over here, he triple charges his Frostfang Thane, or Thane on Frostfang. The big dragon and this guy all come in here. So, yeah, goodbye. And then he just kind of backs up, backs up. He's just not wanting to engage quite yet against my line here, which I don't blame him. But so out on the left, he kills the fire elementals as we expected. Goes ahead and sidesteps and then reforms. He kills the Scorchwings as expected. He went ahead and ran forward with this guy, trying to get to the token, and then reformed these two. I am not able to see the rear of this guy with my Skylord, so. And yeah, this is the positioning. He shot at Rakaz a little bit again. So yeah, this is top of 4 for me. Yeah, I think we're okay right now. He's burned 1 token. He will get a second one. We've already gotten 2, and this turn we'll see. I'll get the third one here because Seth made a little bit of a mistake out here. So, and there's my movement. So let's go a little closer. On the left, so I didn't waver him. His attack backs luckily didn't waver me. So I should, at this point, at the very least waver this unit out here, and then I'll have the Horde of Scorchwings free in the next turn or two to contribute towards this mess. The Frost Monster just kind of gets in, toes into the forest to at least threaten some stuff. Rakaz goes into the troop because the half-elf berserkers are easier to kill and they put out a decent punch. So with this, I knew Rakaz was going to be eating a flank one way or another, but I put in the Ceremonial Guard into the center as well. The idea being Rakaz is going to turn to look at the giant. These guys are going to turn to look at the Scorchwings. So his regiment of pack hunters he can charge either one of the 2 flanks, but he has to choose which one, Rakaz or the Horde at that point. And I expect he would choose Rakaz because Rakaz is going to be easier to kill because nothing else is going to really hurt the Ceremonial Guard in the front at this point in time. But again, I'm okay with that particular decision just because it clears up his lines more. I have a lot of damage on his stuff. I'm shooting down a lot of his things, and I have plenty of shooting still left here. So I feel like we're in a pretty good position. And the unit the Ceremonial Guard charged is the one that we wavered last turn, so it already has like 4 wounds on it. So those are pretty safe kills in my mind here. And the big thing in his positioning, he did not account for the Greater Fire Elemental. So Greater Fire Ele comes into the flank over here of these spears, who still have 1 wound on them from a little bit of pot shots. So yeah. So shooting, we took our elite fireball, or maybe it's just regular fireball because we didn't have any flamebound units next to us. So regular fireball and Phoenix shooting into the 1 wound already on the his fly guy, and we picked him up. So that's great. We do kill the troop and turn to face out that way. We don't kill the regiment. As you can see, they're at 16 wounds. We rolled our snake eyes, so yeah, that stinks. That's really not what we want. So yeah, that hurts. That ruins some plans that we had, but oh well, we're gonna have to adjust now. We do kill the spears and end up backing up afterwards to put us here. So he can have. He already has a flank over here, so I figured, what the hell, he can have a flank that's hindered there if he has J boots though. So if he really wants, I'd rather him charge the fire elemental than this horde. But that backup allows for me just better positioning for me, so where I can what's it called, I get inspired. I don't know, I just felt like it was better for me. Anyway, I burned the last token, so I have 3 tokens burned. But holding this middle one just got a whole lot harder when I'm giving up for cause, and horde it's gonna hurt. So yeah, and we just shot out here a little bit. Anyway, so this is a bottom of 4 for Seth, and this is what he ends up doing. So I forget if I wavered this unit or not. I think I did waver it this turn. So yeah, I wavered it this last turn, so he's not countercharging. So I feel pretty confident out there. He went ahead and front charge, flank charged over here, which, yeah, definitely do that. When you are able to triple front charge with Regiment, uh, a Snow Troll Prime, and the Elves troop, and then you also get a rear with these guys here. Yeah, stinks, but oh well. And when he does that, he figures, well, committing a lot of stuff, so I might as well get everything in there. He brings his Drakon into the Rhinosaurs to stop them from charging his Giant. He brings the Giant up so that it can, what's it called? See through the forest. Now, this is the Rampager Giant, so this is the one that my Ancients are terrified of, because crushing 4 against the Ancients plus his Rampage, he's going to win that fight, I feel like. Um, but yeah. So, and he is also choosing to ignore my flyer, similar to what I did to him. So, yeah, we'll see if he regrets that or not. So he kills Rakaz as expected. He kills the Horde as expected. Um, yeah, and then he puts a couple wounds on over here. So this is after my movement. I chose not to come into the rear of this guy. I actually think this fire elemental, greater fire elemental, um, is probably the perfect counter to this giant that doesn't have Slayer, because he's stuck in here. He's not going to be able to get around or hit anything else. Um, Whereas I feel like the giant could have just turned around, smacked my bird, killed him, and then looked back at the giant, basically gotten a free kill for nothing. So anyway, the reason why I took him in there again was because our guys are afraid. He could have just turned around and gotten surged into the birds here, but I elected to do the shooting option, so I turned everything to shoot at the birds. Like I said, they're pretty susceptible to getting shot, being only defense 4, 14, 16. And I still have a good amount of shooting left. Mage Priest, the Sky Lord, the Ancient Phoenix. They're all just going to go shoot. Also, a Cloak of Death proc from the Ancient Phoenix. So we got a good amount of stuff hitting it. Yeah, so I feel pretty confident about this. My goal is to protect this token so we can't burn it. So at the very least, we have a tie game. But if I'm able to kind of reconsolidate my stuff, I'll fight for the middle token at turn 6 or 7. But for right now, we gotta just play for what we reasonably have, which is a draw at this point. So the yeah, this guy, wish he had Pathfinder. Anyway, he runs forward here, staying out of line of sight, and is just threatening flanks. He wasn't quite in range to charge, otherwise I would have just brought him in. Um, yeah, these guys countercharge. Hopefully, kill them off so that by turn 6 we can get over here. Or is this turn 5? Maybe turn 7 they can get over there. It feels like they've been in combat over there forever. So yeah, shooting. We do a good amount of damage there, and we kill him. We picked him up. So very happy with that. Between shattering and the cloak of death, and it just all adds up pretty quickly with this army. I feel like that we were able to get them going pretty good. So then over here, we got them up to 10 wounds, but you know we rolled another snake, guys. And look, we're at 6 wounds right now, so yeah, he can. We have no inspiring, so he could waver us and then kill us, and then yeah, just it's painful. I feel like that combat should have been over like 2 turns ago. And then the giant did what he's supposed to do. He held him down. He did a few wounds. More than a few. I mean, crushing 3 with vicious, and he hits on 3s, so he did like 5 wounds or so. Rhinosaurus picked up his Drakon, and then it's Seth's turn, so he charges in with most things, and he sets up bottom of 5 so that he can, try to get a win on turn 6. If we, or maybe turn 7. So he runs the giant forward outside of my guy's front arc. He charges the mage priest because he's sick and tired of this fireball 10. He countercharges here because he can't withdraw and charge anything because after he withdraws, he has no line of sight being outside of the forest. Also, he didn't have the angle to hit these guys who are in the forest. So yeah, he brings a double charge into the ancients. He's hindered with one of them, so uh, liking kind of where we're sitting. I feel like he's coming into us. Oh, but he did kill those guys way out on the left and overran to this spot. Fun. Uh, it was kind of a toss up early on, but I feel like it drug on so long. We got 3 rounds of combats, put him up to 10 wounds, and wasn't able to kill him. So just unfortunate. Anyway, so he doesn't kill anything over on the right though, which is really big for us. And then this is kind of sped through. You see our clocks over here. We were running pretty low on time, so a couple of these pictures kind of got lost here. Sorry. So I'll show you the board. This is at the end of my turn, actually. So what happened here was move forward. Cloak of Death is procced a couple times on this guy, bringing him up to 10 wounds, but haven't had a free unit to shoot at him yet. So he charged with his troll into the Phoenix just to pin it down and stop the shooting. The ancients countercharged the troop of half-elf berserkers, and the Skylord charged the flank of the already devastated unit that we snake-eyed a couple turns ago. The mage priest got charged and wavered and decided just to sit there. Yeah. But we picked up both those units. We picked up the Lord on Frostfang first, and then we got the giant up to, I think it was 10 or 11 wounds at this point, and we rolled the big nerve check that we needed one time at that point to pick him up. So this fire Ellie it's just money. I like these guys a lot. I think they're extremely good. So everything that turn really went our way, except for that combat way out on the far left. But yeah, so our snake eyes, really hurt us with our original game plan, but then we got kind of a flood of great luck here on turn 6, and it's looking like if we get the turn 7, it's an easy win. But unfortunately, we don't have anything in range of this middle token for bottom of 6. So Seth plays for the draw, plays for his turn 6 as he should. This giant had nothing else to do, couldn't charge anything, so it just ran up to get on the token. He's trying to fight off this mage priest. And he's going back into the Phoenix just to bog that guy down again. He, as expected, doesn't kill anything, but that's where the game ends. So it is a draw, 10-10 draw, but I do get 1 bonus point for the attrition because I killed 1,800 or so. He killed 1,300 or so. And then unfortunately, I don't get the extra bonus objective because my monster, if you can go back and look, it didn't fight once in combat. It was running around just protecting the unit over there, causing Cloak of Death, trying to chase down the other giant, which kept running out of line of sight. So I didn't actually fight anybody in combat, but I did kill his monster and I kept mine alive. Those are something I think I forgot to mention in the preview video. Those are tiebreaker objectives. So getting those 2, it only matters if at the end of the event there's a tie in some way. Whoever has more of these side objectives completed wins in the end. So, but yeah, I think that we made the best out of a bad situation. It's definitely a gamble when you're going into a charge and basically saying, I know I'm conceding a flank after this charge, but I expect to be in a good winning position even if there's a flank. So if I had to do it over again, I probably would do the same thing. I played aggressive to get the Raze tokens, so I'm very happy with that. I didn't really play any defense towards the outside objective tokens that Seth had to go get. But the one that was more centralized towards the core of my army, I was able to keep out of his hands. So, all in all, I think it was a reasonable game plan. Um, and, when things went haywire, we made the adjustment necessary and came out of there with a draw. We would have had the win on turn 7 for sure. But sometimes you just got to do what you can and make the best out of a situation. So, very happy with the play, especially, not knowing this army, a couple hours before the game even. Um, very happy with the results. So we are going into round 2 with 11 points, a draw, which, I think is a reasonable spot. Something I didn't mention, due to weather, the event size did shrink quite heavily. They were expecting 24 to 28 players initially, and we ended up with 16, including a ringer, because there was some weather, snowstorms that came in the day before the event, and then one that was expected to happen right as the event was ending on Sunday. So the weather kept people at home. So a smaller event. So I know a draw over a course of 5 games for 16 people, not the end of the world. It's not taking us out of the tournament by any means. So, uh, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the first game of 2024, and I will be back with the next one here shortly. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you again on the next one.